Greetings, everyone. Returning from a short break. Last video, which I call part one of this, I was using these Lego. Come on, see if we can focus on that. Yeah. So that's a Lego sorting hat from the Wizarding World. Then there's this hat on top of Mickey, part of the Disney 100. And yeah, so kind of using that as the inspiration for this doodle. And let's see if we can try to finish this up. So right now I'm just doing kind of like the last part of the inking part of the already inked drawing. And it is at this point I was thinking, well, maybe I could have the tail go that way or like that there. I'll figure that out in a moment. And if I were doing this in pencil to start, as you would have heard me admit, I would have done this pinky quite a bit smaller. That's okay. We're living with this. This is not really anything outside of just my sketchbook sort of thing. It's not a commission thing. I am pretending, though, that Walt would have contacted me and said, hey, draw a mouse. Like relatable and that kind of thing. And that is what I've done. Of course, I've not been contacted. And this is not their iconic character. We call this one Mike or something like that. That's fine. Let's go with the tail like this. It's kind of a tough decision to make, but we're going to live with it. Do a darkening here. That is interesting. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do now is try to figure out what I want for the color part of this. Just sort of thinking as I'm putting in some fur detail. We want well, I guess the red is not so bad. well. From a different universe, multiverse wise. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside for a moment. And now we're just going to toss a little bit of color at it. Get out some yellow for this pencil. I wonder why they used yellow for pencils when I was a kid like this. Was it inexpensive? Was it something that it represented school buses? Was it, I don't know, to remind education or educators to use caution? Yeah, I have no idea. Maybe it was just cheap. Let's go with green bands. Around the eraser cylinder. Like that. Next, let's go with a pink eraser. A little darker here. And just lightly scoot in some color. Like that. For the wood portion, go with a very light brown. That is interesting. You know what? Let's take care of them buttons too. Both buttons, let's go with the yellow. Just like that. Now, I do have a bright red, which I will use in here. Let's zoom in on that just a little bit so you can see where I'm going with some of this ketchup and mustard looking theme. Now I feel like I'm not going to go all out with the color. I don't know if I feel like it's going to be necessary for my sketchbook. I mean, I have a tendency to keep things kind of light anyway, but so I'm leaving some space here in between some of these marks, and those, when I bring out my brush and water, they'll fill in just a little bit lighter and hopefully keep some, although some of it will be lost too, but hopefully to keep some of the lines that I've left, but keep them a little lighter, and that way if I go back in with the pen to add some definition, then they're more noticeable. If not, that's okay. Okay, for fun, the boots I'm going to do in dark gray. Just so they don't look like anything more than just them being boots. And then you can still see the black lines that define them in the first place, or something like that. I should put that in view. That would be the tongue of the boot. I know some people think that there has been some controversy around some Disney IP as of late, and some of that intellectual property. I like to say that it's okay if something is not made for me specifically, if that makes sense. I'm okay with that. In fact, I don't expect any company to make movies specifically for me. And if it turns out that I don't like something, I have to remember that it wasn't made for me specifically. So I don't know why things get controversial if it wasn't made for people in particular. Does that make sense? I don't know, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's just how I feel about certain things. But I feel like there's a lot of movies that are, they don't consult me if this movie's going to be okay to be made or not. Yeah, I don't know if I want to go too much further with that. I think the next thing I will do is I'm just going to blur a little bit of this now. But I'm going to start with these shorts and move around some of this red. See if some of those lines will stay there or not. And if they don't, that's okay. And I'm doing this first so that I can go back in if it's dried just enough and put in a little bit of extra line work. But I'm not going all out with color anyway. You may have heard me say this in other videos. I need to do my best to just put down the pen after a little while. Although it's good every so often to put extra work into things. It's fun. Now I'm going down to these boots and I'm going to do the same thing.